So, hello everyone. I hope the audio is okay. It's a bit more of a janky setup than usual. But yeah, so last time I did a live stream, my camera arm suddenly disintegrated and I wasn't able to bench this GTX 480 here that I modified. So now today I'm finally gonna do that. But first I'm gonna go over what happened to the card again, and I'm gonna mute my own audio on my PC because I can hear it. Okay, so warning, the stream's current bitrate is lower than recommended. Yes, YouTube, I know. The card has changed a bit since you've last seen it. I've made a dedicated video about this, but just in case you missed it or you don't really care, let's go over the modifications again. So these two potentiometers over here, these give me manual voltage control. These were present already on the card when the last stream started. I've made a video about that way back, which was actually before I knew that the vCore mod was completely redundant, because the CHL8266 on here is compatible with the Hall of Fame NVVDD tool. So I only really need one of these. Then what happened on stream was these 6 1000 microfarad capacitors were added to the core. Don't really expect these to do much. GTX 480s in history don't really have cared much about core capacitance, but these 6 capacitors here on the memory rail, these could do something. This is a Samsung card, so the memory on this does usually scale with voltage. So yeah, these caps might help us. And then after the stream ended, I actually added some multi-layer ceramics as well, so you can kind of see those here. Every single memory chip, except this one with the 2 caps on it, has gotten one of these small multi-layer ceramic capacitors. I don't know what the impact of these are, like what these do. This is the first time I did this, and I haven't run the card before. So you're gonna find out when I do. And yeah, of course, this card is now on a different heatsink. This is the Morpheus heatsink, because the last one had mounting issues and this one doesn't. It is still with the metal IHS though, because I haven't modified the base plate more. Like, I would have to cut the base plate to make it fit without the IHS. I haven't done that. So it's still with the IHS, so thermals are gonna be higher than they could be. But it was really about testing the cap mods that we did, not like other mods. Though that might be a future thing. So, don't really wanna have the stream go so long, so I'm gonna go ahead and install the card. And I'm gonna set the stream to AFK mode for a bit. I'm gonna set up the camera so you can see the test bench, and then I can also go answer some of the questions in chat that I already see. So, this might be weird for the microphone. Let me turn that a bit. Okay. So, that's the test bench. You can see the specs up in the left corner. Though I'm not quite sure if my 4 GHz overclock is active right now. So, this test bench had some issues booting PCI Express 2.0 cards like these in the top 16X slot, but this one has been fine. The other cards, like specifically GTX 580s, are very, very hard to get to boot sometimes, but this one, for whatever reason, has been fine. So, let's connect the DVI slot connector, give it power. Okay, we take our fans. These are slightly too big, These are 140 millimeters. The heatsink is made for 120s. I do not have good 120s, so these will have to do. I did a test run for thermals and it is fine. So yeah, but having 120 millimeter cards would be a better idea. So let's try to boot this thing up. You can't see the postcode. Can you? There's a cable in front of it. We have B2, we have 98, we have boot. Okay, I'm gonna set the camera back to the screen, so see you in a minute. So we have the screen. So I'm gonna read the chat a bit. So what's up? I am the CNC guy. I got a Aorus 1080 Ti. I want to vault mod. Max temperature 45 degrees after shunt mod and on water. 45 degrees is good for water. Like that's around where my 2080 Ti is with probably higher power consumption. I don't know what the shunt mod does. If you want to vault mod a 1080 Ti, a lot of Pascal cards use the UP9512 voltage controller, and Boltzoid had a GTX 1070 once that had the same controller, and he made a video how to vault mod that. So you can look up that video. If you have the same controller, it's gonna be the same thing. Are you going to let it burn on air? I mean, it's a 480, so it's gonna get hot, but I did a test run and the thermals were okay-ish, like better than the stock heatsink. How high do you think you can get the voltage? I could never get mine past 1.175, no mods. The card does have a flash BIOS, so I can go to 1.213 volts. I don't know if the card is gonna handle that though, because some Thermi cards have issues when you take the voltage too high and do not cool them properly. They sometimes crash. And yeah, since this is still with the IHS, and even though it's a Morpheus, which is a very strong cooler, it's with the IHS on a 480 with fans that are slightly too big, so we're wasting a bunch of airflow going out the side. I don't know, like that's, I only ever did a test run for if the temperatures are fine, but you can see I can take it up to over 1.2 volts here. I'm gonna do the first benches with stock voltage though, and I wouldn't really go over 1.25 volts on the stock VRM. So like here you have it, what I was talking about, the Hall of Fame NVVDD tool. This should work. It worked on a GTX 580 and the 480 has the same controller, so I could take the voltage and set it high enough to kill the card immediately. So if maybe at the end of this 1.2 volts isn't enough, we can use the Hall of Fame tool over here, which you can find on overclock.net, I think, if you want to try it yourself. Though you can very easily blow up the VRM if you go too high. So I called Boltzoid to come watch. I mean, if he wants to watch, he watched last time. But I would believe he has better things to do than to watch someone overclock a 480. He could do that himself with better mods and better equipment. Boltzoid doesn't like to help noobs like me, lol. Well, I mean, if you don't really need people to help. If you just watch enough videos and like he's way next level, yeah. I mean, he knows his stuff. He's been doing that for much longer than I have. I mean, everything that I learned is pretty much just watch videos and like if you're interested in the thing, you just start doing things with it. And yeah, I mean, this 480 was one of the first cards I got. It took a while until now, until I really did something with it, but you can get like really cheap cards. Like, it doesn't have to be a high-end one like the 480. You can just get a used graphics card that's like 10 years old and just get some modding supplies, and you can start doing things. Like, if you break it, 10 bucks, maybe at least you learned something. So that's basically what I would say. Like, HD 7770s, if you can get them cheap, are nice. GTX 460s are nice. Pretty much any card that you can get cheap used is nice. Yeah, this was on stock cooler. Can't believe they would hit and handle 110 degrees. Really? I gamed on 120 on a 6970. Yeah, I hope we're not gonna hit that. Ran 480 SLI for years. Replaced a few ATX headers low. Well, I mean, let's find out. So, well, the fan speed thing doesn't do anything. We're just gonna... I'm gonna use Firestrike here. Because I just like Firestrike. I mean, the way I overclock cards that I don't use daily is just, does it pass Firestrike, yes or no? And if it does, I call it stable, even though it will never run games at that clock. So, yeah. So we're gonna go Firestrike, and let's try what it does on stock voltage. I'm not gonna touch memory first, I just wanna test what the core does. Stock voltage. Let's try 800. I wanna know if it does handle 800. By the way, the scores that this is gonna spit out are gonna be awful, just because they're well, like, I haven't done LOD tweak. This Windows is pretty bloated. You can see Vegas Pro down there. I added my videos on this Windows, so pretty bloated. I do have a benchmark OS, but there wasn't enough time left to set that up once I decided to do the stream today. So maybe next time. But yeah, let's see if it does 800 on stock voltage. I wanna know what the card does on low voltage, because I think the core is rather low ASIC quality, but it does seem to run. And yeah, we have the overlay here. Again, like, the scores are gonna suck. And I'm gonna take the... Oops, that's not what I wanted. I'm gonna take the specs and put them somewhere else. And my camera really has a hard time focusing on this. Damn. Is it that hard to focus on it? Like, this thing is not vibrating a lot. That's just a camera not knowing what to focus on. Okay, so there's more things going on in chat while it runs. Yeah, they can hit those temps. Not ideal by any means. No, I don't think. Gonna get a 6900 XT and ask you for help to vmod it. I do not have a Discord. You can get to the LTTOC channel if you want. The thing with the 6900 XT is... no, I'm not on the Bullseye Discord. I'm not a patron of his, though I was thinking about it. You can come ask in the LTT Discord. I'm usually active there at least once a day. But yeah, the 1600 XT is gonna be interesting, because on AMD there's been a trend of, like, not really needing to do hard mods anymore. You can, like, do voltage unlocks in software and power unlocks in software, and they don't really scale that much with voltage anyways. So the 1600 XT is gonna be interesting. I think a Bullseye would be a much better source of information for this, because, I mean, I assume he's gonna get at least one big Navi card, and I think he's gonna mod it if he can. So, like, with new cards, it's always weird because you don't ever really know how they behave, and you need people to find that out, and I do not have the budget to buy one of these cards and sacrifice it for science. So people like Bullseye or Bearded Hardware or Der Bauer, maybe, if he does a video on it, those people would be a better source of information about this. And yeah, because they actually like they get review samples, or they have the budget to buy them themselves, and yeah, like do things with it. Like their Bauer did a 3090 and he replaced some of the SP caps with multi-layer ceramics. Like most people can't do that because 39 is way too expensive. It's probably gonna drop in price after that an AMD announcement, but yeah. Okay, so the benchmark passed at 800 megahertz. And the score sucks. Wow, that's really low. Like, I ran the dodgy Lightning yesterday and it hit almost 6,000 for GPU score. And that physics score does not... I actually didn't pay attention, but that looks like the CPU is running stock, so that 4 GHz overclock is actually not applied. Maybe at the end I'm gonna do a run for scores. Then we can go into the BIOS and like set some things. I might actually remove the third memory stick because you can see there's 24 gigs. I do have 3 memory sticks because for video rendering I need all the RAM I can get. And yeah, so I just use every stick I have, which is not great for performance because yeah, it's running 3200. All of it is CJR, which means if I just use 2 sticks, I can do 3600. With 3 sticks, 3200 is like the best I got working. So let's see if it does 900. I don't think it will, because if I remember correctly, the best that this was doing was 905 on the stock max voltage, which was like 1.15, 1.175 volts-ish. So I think this is gonna crash. Or not. Why are you running? Oh no, yeah, it's artifacting. Or like, yeah, it's artifacting. But it's still running. Like, I'm gonna see and look if this passes. I'm actually surprised. Like, what voltage is this running on? Maybe my volt mod is set to like increase the voltage to something, and it's not actually at the stock volt. I'm gonna get the multimeter and test. So the audio is gonna be weird for this part. Okay. Let's test. Are you still running? You're still running? What voltage are you at? Which cap am I gonna use for this? No, it's at stock voltage. It's 1.06 volts. Wow. So either the cap mods that I did really helped the card, or the more likely scenario, I just never tested it at max voltage, which I think I did, but like, okay, like it's running. It's artifacting, but it's running. So okay, let's look at the chat a bit. Hi guys, did I miss a lot? No, someone answered that already. Are you running 3200 CO16? Yeah, it's 3200 CO16. It's literally the typical 3200 megahertz CO16 XMP profile. It's the same profile that I ran on my C-die sticks before they died, and I replaced them with the CJR sticks that I currently have. It's just, this is a first gen Ryzen on a T-topology X370 motherboard, and that's just nothing like that. That's not good for speed. So if with more than 2 sticks, 3200 is just like the max I could get out of it. 875 was as high as I could get. Yeah, I heard that, like in the last, certainly impressive numbers you have. I heard in the last live stream, like I always assumed the card is not that great, but then in the last live stream, people enlightened me that 400 series cards were actually just a lot slower. Wow, the score, it improved. See, the score, 4,229. The score's better now. Yeah, but 950 is not gonna pass. The question is, if I now take it to 115, is it gonna run 950? Dude, if this thing is running 1 gigahertz at 1.2 volts, I'm gonna... like... then I'm gonna be really happy, but I don't really feel like it will. Let's just test. Let's just test it. Like we just went about 100 millivolts higher, and we're just giving it 50 more megahertz. Like at some point, it just gets exponential. Like you need exponentially wow, I can't talk. Exponentially more voltage than clock for clock. So I don't know where that starts, where you just need way more voltage for a couple megahertz. But I mean, here 950 is running. It's artifacting, but it's running, and the temperatures are still okay-ish. Ah, no, it's not running. Okay. And the CPU is stock. Okay, it's not running. Yeah, it's not gonna break 1 gigahertz then. Maybe on water. Maybe I can run chilled water this winter. I am planning on it. It's just that my current test bench configuration does not really allow for water cooling the card. Like, I'm just gonna go to max volt. Like, this is gonna crash. This will probably crash so hard that I have to, yeah. And this afterburner froze. Yeah, and we had 4 or 5. This is probably locked now. Wait, GPU Z. This is, the card probably just locked itself into safe mode, so we don't get above. Wait, it's on. Okay, yeah, we locked. We're at PCI Express 8x. That's something annoying that this board keeps doing. The top 16x slot sometimes just runs at 8x instead of 16x. That might be why the score is so low. That might also explain why the clock was so high, because the GPU is not really doing any work. So let's just shut this thing off, and I'm gonna reseat the card, which hopefully will make it run 16x. Like I'm kind of concerned that the board is like having problems. I hope not. So let's reseat the card. Be right back. Okay, start this thing again. Okay, what's chat saying? Unhappy face. F. Blow it up. I might blow it up. No? Why do you take so long? 28B4? No, okay, it's booting. Or not. Oh, don't tell me it's not getting detected now. Yeah, it's not getting detected. So that's a really annoying thing that this also does. It just won't boot PCI Express 2.0 cards sometimes. And it seems like it's doing that right now. 27, 15. Come on, give me B2. Yeah, it's going through some postcodes. B2? No? Wait, it's boot looping. B2 98. Hey! Pressing the reset button solved it. Dodged a bullet right there. Try a different PCI Express slot. Yeah, the 8x slot always works. The thing is just, in the 8x slot, we have PCI Express 8x, and the thermals are worse because there's less airflow. So I like to have it in the 16x slot, because we are already locked into PCI Express 2.0. Still at 8x. What the fu- Why? Like, it could very well be because the card is missing some multi-layer ceramics from the PCI Express interface. It might well be that it was always running at 8x and I just never noticed. Well, yeah, okay, fuck it. We run it at 8x. We were like, we want clocks, not scores. And I also forgot to get into BIOS and reapply the overclock. Well, Windows 7, I thought about trying Windows 7. The problem is I don't have an install medium for it. Like, I have no way to install Windows 7. I don't know where to get the ISO. Any idea the wattage being pulled? SLIOC I've seen pulled over 1000 watts. Well, the power supply in the test bench is a 750 watt. It's at 1.2 volts, the card is probably pulling close to 500 watts. That's based off from the LTT Discord. Someone had a GTX 570 that pulled around that much when really pushed hard. I'm not pushing this super hard. Though actually, I don't know what voltage that 570 was running on. We might actually pull like a lot, but not enough to trip the power supply. Like I've never managed to pull too much from the power supply to make it shut off. So I would say around 500 watts, maybe more. I don't have a current clamp, sadly. I really have no way of knowing. Okay, after the stream is done, I'm gonna check what's up with the 8x thing, because it is missing some multi-layer ceramics at the end of the PCI Express slot, where the 16x lanes are. It might just be that it's just not working, like that it's always at 8x. I've run this card so little that I literally do not know, but I've seen it happen on other cards, that this slot sometimes is just in 8x mode for no apparent reason. Push it to the limit, please. Yes, I will. So let's get back into 3D Mark. And I'm gonna do a max voltage run. And we might actually make use of the memory vault mod on this. Do 1 gigahertz. No, I do 1 gigahertz on a 6970 on stock volts on air. 6970, like what architecture is that? Is that terascale? Like, I've never worked with one of those cards. 1 gigahertz, like, it sounds impressive. Core clock. So what are we trying? Let's try 950. I don't think this will be doing 1 gigahertz, and it will get really hot now at 1.2 volts. Like, you can see our idle already went up 6 degrees from before, and we're doing nothing right now, and it already went up 6 degrees. So this is gonna get toasty. Gotta say, it's cool to see anything being done with Fermi these days. Like, I love Fermi. Fermi is really great. Like, you can get these things cheap, you can get them, you can mod them, you can do all kind of awesome things with them, and like, they're cheap. You can get them pretty much anywhere. And like, yeah, they're just fun to mess with, especially because they do not have a power limit. Not running, yeah. So, this is not gonna run 950. 925? Just kind of dialed in. I'm actually more interested in what the memory will do, because like, I have a rough idea of what the core was doing, though it's still running faster than I thought. Like at 900 megahertz at stock volts, that's like pretty impressive. No voltage limit. Yeah, I mean, it kind of has a voltage limit with the BIOS, Like, you can't BIOS mod your way past 1.213 volts, but like you can volt mod. The reference cards, the CHA8266 has a public data sheet, so volt mod away. And I mean, okay, yeah, you have the tool as well. So yeah, we immediately passed 60 degrees. That's probably why we're crashing. That is probably why we are crashing, because Fermi, some cards on Fermi really hate running hot. I've seen this on my OG 580 Lightning, my 580 Direct CO2. When they would cross 84 degrees, they would just crash with everything over stock speeds. If you keep them below, they can run really fast. But 84 degrees is kind of the hard limit for these 580s. I don't know where it is for this 480. So, yeah, that's probably why we are crashing. I got one more I need to fix. Then I got Firecross. You mean dual card. 6970, that sounds interesting. Like, I know the 5000 and 6000 series Radeons can be interesting. I would like to have one, though I don't think I've ever seen any in Germany on like eBay or something for a good price. We are at 70 degrees now. I mean, yeah, it's running hot. Which is kind of like, if the metal IHS wouldn't be there, we would probably be 5 to 10 degrees colder. So that's kind of killing our thermals right now. But it shouldn't affect memory so much. And the base plate is still on the card, so the memory still has some kind of heat sinking on it. So, well, 400 series for memory. Where can we expect this to land? So I have the 460. The 460 on memory does 2100 and 2200 when I push the voltage and don't let it run for too long. So I guess we're gonna target that, though this might not be that stable because I think the 460 has pretty good memory compared to other cards. And I think that having less memory chips can give the 460 an edge over the 480. 480s are good about not crashing due to temps. Should be able to hit 100C without issue. Yeah, I mean, they will hold. They can run at those temperatures, just not if you overclock them a lot. At least on 580s. I don't know how Fermi 1.0 is for that. If you were just telling me that they can run high temps, then yeah, I mean, 70 degrees is already pretty high. Like, some of my 580s would complain at that point. Okay, let's try 935. If this passes, I'm gonna go over to memory, because like, if this passes, I'm within 15 megahertz of a clock that won't pass. So for now, that's okay for me. I have an RX 480 GTR, 1650 megahertz, 1.38 volts water. Like, I've heard the GTR is a really amazing card. Like, it does have a beast VRM, so yeah, it's gonna handle at 1.38 volts pretty nicely, I think. 1650 megahertz is very impressive. Like, that's 200 megahertz more than my RX 570 does. Though, be fair, my 570 is awful. It's just awful. And it doesn't run right now. I tried fixing the VRM that blew up, and like, you can turn it on, but once you start a benchmark, after 10 seconds it just shuts down, which I think might be a faulty temperature sensor, or like maybe the reason that I used low side MOSFETs as the high sides, which is a very bad idea, which I thought would be fine, because these low sides that I used were not really that slow. Like, they are faster than some other low sides, but they're not as fast as high side MOSFETs, so that might be that they may be just like they might get way too hot from being driven from being turned on and off all the time, way faster than they should. So yeah, like for whatever reason my RX 70 doesn't run right now if you put it under load. Like on desktop it's gonna run no problem. And the VRM does get really hot though. That was always a problem on that card. The VRM cooling is really not great. So I think I saw a little artifact on the screen, but it does run, and it's not really super artifacting. No, it crashed. Yeah, it crashed. So 925. I could try 930, but nah, don't really care. So actually, let's get back to stock voltage and just push the memory. 2000. Gonna try that. And I think, like, if the memory is disappointing or something, I'm gonna go in and push the voltage on the memory, which I'm gonna check what it's at right now. It should be at 1.6. Like the volt mod should be more or less disabled right now, but I'm gonna push it to 1.7 at least if the need arises. Are you running? Not yet. No, you're running. Okay, what's the memory voltage at? Can get in there. Okay, we had 1.63 volts at one of the memory chips near the VRM, and we are at also, okay, 1.62. Memory is at 1.62 volts at the furthest memory chip from the VRM. So 20 millivolts over what it should be according to spec. Though that will always change. Like when I ran the 580 Lightning, which actually, like, how long has the stream been going? 38 minutes. So that's actually longer than I thought. So it's been going for 38 minutes. Like, it does seem to run 2 GHz on memory, though of course it's 2 MHz short for whatever reason. Yeah, we might actually run the 580 Lightning if the 480 proves to be a BZ is busy, der Bauer too. Well, I mean, it's not really that overclocking a 480 is anything new or special. It's a bit special because it's like modded. But like, yeah. If I would, I'm probably, like, the winter's coming up. It's getting really cold outside. Something I did last year, which I did one video about it after I already did it. Actually, I have some recordings that I never uploaded. If I find those, I might actually make a video out of it. I did ran my 580 Direct CO2 that you see on the channel sometimes because I like to explain things with that card. I ran that on chilled water where it would be at like 25 degrees full load and like 7 degrees idle. So water temp, I didn't measure the water temperature, but it must have been pretty close to 0. And that was still with the metal IHS. So it wasn't deleted back then. And this looks really slow. But the clocks are where they are supposed to be, so maybe that's just the 480. You could run Skydiver. I could try Skydiver actually. 3144. That's not that much higher than stock, is it? Let's try with 2100. Like, I don't know how much memory bound the 480 is. Haven't really looked into that. Like 580s. 580s seem to get a lot of score from memory. I don't know how it is with 480s. They should be pretty similar, but like the speeds are different. Like 480s run a lot slower. So yeah, maybe pushing memory on this without pushing core is not really giving you a lot of score. So please run 2100 now. Like I put a lot of time into those mods. I mean, GT2 is the memory test, so if this passes, the other one might crash. Which is why I'm not pushing core right now, because we don't want the thing to crash because of core and then assume it's memory. I got Kingpin on Facebook. I'ma ask him to come watch. I don't think Kingpin will watch this, to be honest. Bearded Viking is being a jerk to me. That's That's not great. Gonna ask Lucky Noob to come watch. I mean, 6 people are watching right now. That's twice as many people as I was expecting. And also, I mean, this live stream is staying up on the channel as a video after it's done. So, if people wanna know how 480 overclocking, or like what it looks like, this minus the mods, so the clocks are gonna be lower. But this seems to run 2100. I don't remember what it did before. This might have done 2100 before. But I don't think it did. I think it did like 2000. So, yeah. I mean, I have no idea what the multilayer ceramics are gonna do on the card. Like, they could do a lot. They could do nothing. Like, I don't even know if all of those are 47 microfarads, because I literally just stole them off of dead cards, and I have no idea what capacity these are, or like what ESR spec they have. Do multilayer ceramics even have an ESR spec? I don't think they have an ESL spec. I'm not sure about ESR. Like, I've never worked with multilayer ceramics before. And I think you can kind of find out what capacity they have from the from their color. Like, some are darker, some are lighter, and apparently that indicates their capacity. I don't remember what the higher one was though. So I don't even know what capacity these multilayer ceramics have. Most of them are from the dead GTX 580 Phantom though, the card that became a power board. And they also come from the memory system of that card, I think. Okay, yeah, we got still basically the same score. Okay, now, oops, now we are in a region. The 460 won't run 2200 at stock voltage, but the 460 does not have memory capacitors on it, at least not multilayer ceramics. I had capacitors on the memory of that card once. I removed them because my soldering was pretty bad. So yeah, this, I don't know. If this doesn't run, I'm gonna crank the voltage. I'm gonna go to 1.7. But let's see. No instant crash. But we're gonna have to wait for graphics test 2. Oh, we got memory artifacts. Yeah, it's artifacting. Oh, we are really at the edge of stability right here. Yeah, this is probably gonna crash as soon as it gets into graphics test 2. Which means it's time for voltage, I think. But maybe this will pass. Like, maybe it's gonna pass with a lot of artifacting. But I think at this point it would, if it passes, it would impact our score negatively. Oh, it's not instant crashing. Wow. And it's... okay, yeah, I know it's artifacting. Like, it seems to be temperature related because I saw very strong temperature scaling on Samsung GDDR5 on GTX 580s. Like, when I ran that 580 direct CO2 on chilled water, I got it running more than 300 megahertz faster than it does on ambient. Because the entire board was just chilled so cold. And therefore also the memory was running really, really cold. And I got that memory clocked at 2675 megahertz, which usually it does 2300. So yeah, that got a lot faster just from being very, very cold. So I think this might be the same thing, where at the beginning of the test it's not really artifacting because the memory is still like kinda cold, but then once it's under load for a while it gets hotter and hotter, and then it starts to get unstable. So yeah, might not be that might be why. And I just noticed I don't have any water anymore, and I have a pretty dry mouth right now. I might get I might go downstairs and get some water at some point. Bump up your BCLK to fine-tune. I mean, I'm not aware that you can do BCLK on graphics cards. Or do you mean for RAM and CPU? Because my board does have BCLK overclocking, I just never tried it. Skydiver would be interesting. Looked at my old score using OC SLI. Best graphics score I had was 2600, 512. I'm sure you could easily destroy that with your mods. I mean, I'm not gonna beat two 480s on SLI with this. And I only have this one 480. So, yeah. It will probably beat that score if it's just one 480, considering that I'm able to get much higher voltage through the card and have a lot of extra capacitors and all that stuff. And it does actually seem to be a pretty good core. So yeah. But also, we actually passed, and we got a higher score, about 20 points. So, the question is, does it go further? Oops. Does it go further? Because I have a feeling this is gonna instant crash. I just wanna know where it just stops, and then I'm gonna go bump the voltage up. Yeah, bump it to 102 or 103, CPU and RAM. Yeah, I could try that. I just never really did it myself. So yeah, like that could probably give me some extra RAM speed. The CPU will probably also handle it, though it might not be Prime 95 stable, because even though there's an AIO, a 280mm one on the CPU, I noticed that in Prime 95 it just gets very, very hot and crashes. Because like apparently Ryzen 1st Gen also gets really, really unstable if it gets really, really hot. So like over 87 degrees. And this card is artifacting, like, it's still running, and this is nowhere near what, like, if you watch one of Bullzoid's 1080 Ti on liquid nitrogen streams, that card was artifacting like mad, and it still ran, and still spit out scores. My dad is watching. Hello, Dad. Yeah, I see. Okay, we had a 7th viewer for a while, now we're 6 again. I mean, if people are interested in this, I'm glad. Like I'm actually gonna I'm on my second and ultra slow smartphone that I used as the camera last time right now. Oops. Just testing. Like if I bump BCLK to 102, it would give me a 4.08 megahertz overclock. I think 4.05 was already like unstable on the CPU. Like it does run 4 gigahertz for like benchmarks and rendering, but if it gets really hot, like I actually had it happen that in the summer there was one day where it was just really hot and the CPU actually crashed rendering a video. So it is stable most of the time, but it's kinda really on the edge. Yeah, and like if I bump it to 103, yeah, I would have to reduce the multiplier. Like if I do a 39 multiplier at 103 BCLK, that would probably work. And I would get around 3300 megahertz memory. I think I'm gonna try some BCLK stuff once the stream is over, because I don't like doing things on stream that I never did before, because I don't know how long it's gonna take and how much worth everyone's time it's gonna be. So I like to do it at least once off screen. Okay, now the score went down. Yeah, now we're hitting like strong ECC on the memory. Okay, so I think it's time to bump up the voltage. And I'm gonna try to show that to you. So I'm gonna take the camera and yeah, I'm gonna set the stream to pause and turn the camera that way that you can see the test bench. So, here's the test bench. Now I need my screwdriver. Okay. This is gonna be interesting to do with two hands. I need to ground one probe somewhere, so I have the other hand free to turn the potentiometer up. This is just gonna stay there if I put it into the I/O shield. Oh. Come on, little probe. Stay where you are supposed to. Okay, this is not gonna fit. Is this working? Like, can you measure voltages that way? Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna try to measure the voltage here and not short something, and I'm gonna turn it up to 1.7 volts. .68. Oops, damn it. The tape here is really weak. I don't really have a second hand to, like, I would need a third hand to hold this. 1.683, 1.684, stop going away. I'm gonna plasti dip you on, which I'm probably gonna do after the stream. I'm just gonna turn it once and then measure the voltage like it's gonna handle. Voltage for short. .69. One more turn. .693. .697. Oh, that's close enough. That is close enough. Okay. Voltage is higher, so let's set the camera back. So we are at 1.7 volts VMEM now. So 2225 should now run without artifacts if the one chip that's like, it's probably just one or two chips that are making problems, and if those are now getting more voltage, then they should be more stable. What LLC are you running? Like on the board, like when I'm running the 4 GHz thing, the CPU is set to what voltage actually? I think 1.425 volts. High LLC, which is like the second highest. I mean, it's not artifacting. So yeah. Oh, no, it's artifacting. Damn it. Still artifacting. And crashing. Wow. Like, sometimes your memory doesn't like to be overvolted. Sometimes the memory is just really upset about getting more voltage. But I only saw that on Hynix, not on Samsung. But this is very early Samsung stuff. Though on the 460 the memory took it. Like on the 460 the memory did run. Let's just try 2200 again. Maybe it's like a memory strap thing. But yeah, I'm really surprised that this is still artifacting and crashing even. Because like on the 460 the memory got like 100 megahertz extra from the Volt mod. But maybe the cap mod already took care of the voltage situation. Like maybe leave it at 100. Don't do 125% on power draw, leave it at 100. I haven't touched any power draw settings on the motherboard. If you are using multiple cameras, can you lock autofocus? Yeah, I can't lock autofocus. That's like, yeah, it's stupid. It's trying to focus all the time. The problem is like, I can't lock like autofocus. It's pretty stupid. 2025 was where mine kept. Yeah, that kinda is in line with what I've heard. And I think, like, I don't really remember what this did before, but I have a faint memory of it doing like 2000-ish. But speaking of the camera, this is now my other smartphone. Like last time, I used a Nokia 6.1, which is just my old smartphone. That's really terrible. This now a OnePlus 7T Pro with a much better camera, though my internet is still very, very slow. No one afterburner. Like the 480 does not have a power limit. Like there's no power slider on it. Like there literally is no power slider on the 480 or 580. But yeah, so the stream quality, like the quality should have improved a bit. Because like last time the stream was set to 500 kilobits quality, which is like 1/5 of what it should be according to YouTube. Now it is at 1 Mbit. And yeah, that's because I'm now on a different internet connection, because the house where I am has two independent internet connections. One has 16 Mbit downstream and 1 Mbit upstream. The other one is slightly slower on downstream but has 2 Mbits upstream. And the last time I was on the 1 Mbit upstream, now I'm on the 2 Mbit upstream connection. So now I doubled the stream quality. Though OBS is screaming at me and showing me red and yellow status, though YouTube says excellent connection, so I don't really know. Like it does look a bit pixelated on my control stream. Can't really say if that's on your end as well. Yeah, the score is not improving. Yeah, but like power, there is no power. Like, I mean, the fan, I can change the fan, but there's no fan connected to the card. I can only change clocks and voltage. Like, there is no power limit on this card because it does not even have the circuitry for that. On the 600 series is the first series on NVIDIA that added the power limit. So, let's just run a max, like 2225 lowered our score, kinda. Like this is also lower than the one we got from 2225. Yeah, but let's run a max score run and see where it gets us. Like 4,000, please, like 4,000 score. Like I mean, if 580s do almost 6,000 with being pushed a little, this should do 4,000, I think. So, yeah. The stream is about an hour now. Like, if the 480 is not that interesting, I'm thinking right now about like taking the Lightning, and it crashed. It really does not like voltage. Like it really, really seems to hate voltage. That's bad. Or maybe it's crashing because the core is pumping more heat into the thing. Like sometimes it's also just because the core is overclocked, the memory overclocking gets worse because like something happens. Like I've heard that adding offset to one clock can reduce the max you have on the other one just because it kind of interferes. Like if this now crashes, oh damn it. But I mean it passed before. This is not memory, is it? Is this core? Like if I go to 900, is it gonna pass? You heard correct on the offset. Yeah, I mean, people have been telling me. I don't think I've encountered it myself, but maybe this is the first time I see it. I had, because before in my main system, my 2080 Ti, because it wasn't really that great for core, even though it is water cooled, and on a custom PCB, I was like asking people maybe if they know why the core is so bad at overclocking, and they told me maybe your overclock for memory is interfering with it. It didn't, but apparently it's a thing. So yeah, turns out my 2080 Ti just has a bad core, but it has really good memory. Like the memory on it does just like you max the slider, it's plus 1500. And yeah, sadly the core does not get, like, the overclocking on the core does not improve if I remove the memory offset. It's just not that great of a core. Like yeah, 2085 megahertz was like the best I could get out of that card. By now I found a tweak, like a tweak to lock in a power limit with a like a power target. No wait, the power state, a higher power state with a higher voltage, which apparently 2080 Ti's do scale with voltage a bit, because now my card does 2145 instead of 2085. Which is like, is that a 60 megahertz? Yeah, it's a 60 megahertz higher for the core, just because of 43. No, was it 43 millivolts? Yeah, it was 43 millivolts extra for core with the tweak. I know with mine I basically had to pick my poison to which push on mem versus core. Yeah, I mean, then I would just like max both and then see what brings you a better score, and then keep that. I mean, on a 2080 Ti it's probably memory. Like on newer cards they tend to be memory bound from what I've seen, so memory overclocking brings a lot on them. On the 480, based on the scores we are seeing here, I don't think memory gives you that much. I think the improvement is more with core, which means that maybe we're doing the wrong thing here because I've reduced core and not memory. I think I'm gonna try to run it at 950 core again, and then maybe loosen the memory and see what score is that. So let's see the max memory score. What's that? 4300. So we broke 4K. 40, pretty close 4300. Okay, let's see what happens if I max the core, and let's say we go down 100 megahertz on the memory. Let's see if we still get 4300 or maybe something higher. Yeah, and I mean, I'm just gonna ask chat, because like, if this now gives us a better score or the other thing, like, at this point, oh, it still crashes. Like, does it even run 950 now with like stock memory? Like, if I put in 1850 memory, does it still run 950? Like, it did run 950 core before, didn't it? But yeah, I mean, if it looks like the 480's nearing the max of what I can do, because like I can't really improve cooling. I don't think more vCore will solve the problem, because we went up all the way to 1.2 volts and barely got 50 megahertz out of it. No, like, it did run 950 at 1.15, didn't it? Or close to, like, I mean, it did 900 at stock, so yeah, that's because stock is 100 and over 150. Yeah, it still crashes. Okay, that's weird. Oh, but that's a yeah. See that? That's like the memory being unhappy. Yeah, so I think this is a situation where you just... Or maybe let's see if it does 900 with stock voltage again, because it did that, right? Usually I can remember things like that. Yeah, but these black boxes, that's usually an indicator of memory crashes, which is weird because we just had it stock. Yeah, but like I feel like we're nearing the max of what this 480 can do, and I can't really do any more. Like, I'm not gonna bother with higher V-core because 1.2 volts is already pretty high and we don't see a lot of improvement. I'm not gonna go higher on memory because 1.8 volts, like, if the furthest memory chip gets 1.8 volts, the memory chips right up to the VRAM are gonna be at like 1.9, and that's just too much for my liking. And like, it's artifacting a lot. Yeah, so like, I think this 480 is close to being maxed out. So if you wanna see some more, like, I'm gonna end the stream soon then if you don't, but I do have this right here, which is the dodgy lightning on the auxiliary heatsink, because this heatsink is the only heatsink that it will work on. If you want to see this run, because the core on this is really damn good, if you want to see this run, I can put the 580 in and take that for a spin. Yeah, but I already kind of know where it clocks, so I would just kind of like show you what it does. Like, if you want to see that, yeah, just tell me in chat and I'm gonna show it. Oh! Yeah, so I think this card just doesn't wanna play nice if you touch memory or memory voltage. Like, if we go a bit higher on V-core again, maybe it's gonna run better. But if this doesn't, I'm just gonna call 2200 memory, though it artifacts, it finishes, and it does not give you like a hugely lower score. Yeah, run it. Yeah, okay. I think it's just a card where you have to go low on memory, on core. And yeah, I mean 4300 is higher than the 3000 something we get stock. Like, that should be a... I don't know. That's not a 780 Ti Lightning, that's a 580 Lightning. I wish I had a 780 Ti Lightning. There's only like 50 of these in the world. Nah, yeah, that's a 580 Lightning. The one that's really dodgy, because it doesn't want to run on the stock heatsink, it only runs on the heatsink I showed you. But it does have a really good core. The memory on it is kind of meh though. Like, the memory is not that great, but the core is really great. What you're gonna see. Yeah, so it looks like... Well, let's wait for GT2. If this passes. Okay, 2P, yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna run the 580 after this. Which is like the nice thing about the Lightning is MSR Afterburner allows you to adjust memory voltage without a volt mod. And even PEX voltage, though that's not to any use for me, because that's for liquid nitrogen. If you have like cold bugs, then you touch PEX voltage. If you don't, then you just don't touch PEX voltage. Yeah, but this seems to pass. It could also be that the card just doesn't want to run at 1.2 volts that much. like for my own cards, if you put the voltage too high for some cards, they just crash. Maybe like some other cards, I think I've heard also artifact just and like soft crash. What my cards do is just like hard crash, like solid color screen and it's not coming back, you have to press reset. But I think some cards also just start to artifact. This might be one of those that you put the voltage too high and it just starts artifacting on you. So, yeah, combined doesn't usually crash when GT1 and 2 pass. So, I guess this is gonna get through. .6 FPS, that's a lot higher than, I think 4.7 was the one before. Okay, let's look at the score. Yeah, we've got 2 more points. But I think that was from an identical run, just with more voltage and artifacted. Yeah, so I'm gonna delete these 2 profiles, save this, and that seems to be our combined max. So I'm gonna bring the camera closer. So, got a bit. So yeah, 1.15 volts, because going to 1.2 just makes it run harder and doesn't really bring a lot. Like it starts to artifact, so I assume this is one of those cards that just don't like high voltage unless you cool them really low, which this is not really that low. Like you would need water cooling with like 45 degrees, like under 50. So yeah, 900 megahertz, 2200 megahertz memory. So the memory on this clocks pretty well from what I've seen. Like the 460 also did 2200 with mods, but that one also seemed to be like have really good memory. So this, like the memory, like the the cap mod on this card is more sophisticated and just overall better than on the 460. And yeah, this is running multi-layer ceramic capacitors for the mod also, which I never did before. So apparently this does help a lot. So I'm really happy with the memory overclock result. I'm not really that happy that this card is just annoying when it comes to voltage and core and memory all at the same time. So yeah, that seems to be the max that the card will do. And as requested, I'm gonna run the 580 Lightning now. First gonna run at chat a bit. I want to be your first Patreon. I mean, if more people request it, like I could set up a Patreon account. If you wanna support me, that would be really great. I would be really grateful. Sadly, I just can't give you anything in return except for content, which you do get without paying. So yeah, it's not really like I have a Discord or something. The channel would have to grow a lot more for that to be really something worth doing. But yeah, I can look into opening up a Patreon account if you really want to support me. It's just that at the current size of the channel, at like 135 subscribers, I wouldn't really be expecting that a lot of people want to like support me by sending me some of their hard-earned money. But I can set up a Patreon account if you really want to. Yeah. Then my max OC with my 560 Ti 448 is 900 megahertz and 2200 mem. I also have a 560 Ti 448. That one actually has the same problem that the Lightning that I'm about to show you. That one also has a really great core. Like my 560 Ti 448 did like 1050 megahertz core. And for memory, I actually don't remember. I was Bullseye's third Patreon, and he grew. Oh, really? So you're a long-time supporter of him. Well, yeah, like as I've said, I can look into opening up a Patreon account if you really want to support me. Which would be great. Like, my toys do cost money, and yeah, and I don't really have a lot of budget for it. So yeah, I think I'm gonna look into opening up a Patreon account, which I guess there will be a video announcing that it exists, but yeah, I didn't want to do it that early into the channel's like growth period, because I think it sounds like I'm just out for money, you know, and not just enthusiastic about the content I make. So I didn't want it to look like I was just grabbing money. But yeah, I can look into opening up a Patreon account. Yeah, so then I'm gonna set up the camera again to look at the test bench, and then we're gonna swap out the graphics cards. Okay, first I'm gonna have to turn this thing off. Don't want to remove the card while it's running. Bad idea. So, get the fans out, disconnect the fans from power. I do use this external fan hub, by the way, which is just like, you can technically connect this thing to control the speed. I broke the cable for it, and luckily when there's no control thing connected, it just defaults to maximum speed, which is what I would have set it to anyways, so yeah. And let's get the card out. Might just be a bit difficult to get the 580 to boot. Like, the 580 is one of those cards that just doesn't want to boot in the top slot. And yeah, so 480 is out. For the 580, bit bigger. It's really big. And yeah, so let's run that one. And that one actually does have an HDMI connector, so I'm gonna use my HDMI cable. So yeah, come on, connect power. And turn on. Okay, can you see the postcode? No, you can't. Okay, so it's gonna take a while because we just put in a new card, or actually, yeah, it's doing what I was afraid it would do. No video. So press reset. Sometimes pressing reset once just helps. But yeah, 580s, in general, 580s are just really a pain to get working. Yeah, it still doesn't work. Okay. So time for plan. Take it into the 8x slot, boot it once, then take it up into the 16x slot and hope it's working. Because like you can see from the 8x slot, there's basically no airflow. like it's right up against the PSU shroud. So the thermals suck really bad. But it should work in this slot. It's just like once you boot it in here, it usually also works in the 16X slot. I think there's something happening with if the system has booted the card once, it can like boot it better in other slots. So yeah. Yeah, we have picture. Preparing automatic repair because I power cycled it too many times. Like you can see here, we have picture. I'm just gonna wait until it is in Windows. Then just yeah, reboot it. So I'm gonna take the microphone over here again a bit. Make it and make a Discord channel. I mean, I could set up a Discord for Patreons, or just like in general. Yeah, like I think I would do it. I could do a Discord in general where I just post like small updates, and then people who do Patreon get a extra role. That could be a thing. 12 watching. Well, on my end it says 10. Maybe those people left already. Yeah, change slots. So, okay, we are on Windows. The driver hasn't initialized yet. Nothing really to see here, so I'm just gonna leave the camera there because we're gonna move it up once we're finished. Because like even though it works, those thermals like can't even get my finger in there. The thermals suck. I'm just gonna have to wait until the graphics driver initializes itself. And you can see the dust. It's on my test bench. Like this is not really meant to be a test bench. This is just a Dark-Base 700 on the side. This used to be my main for my daily system the case, but I made the switch to water cooling, and water cooling in this case just doesn't work that great. So yeah, I swapped my main system to a Fractal Design Meshify S2, and then I had this case just lying around, and yeah, I used it for the test bench. Is it possible to add like 8-pin cables to 75-watt GPUs that don't use power cables? I mean, it is possible. It should be pretty easy if it's like a PCB that already has the solder points for one. You just might want to look into maybe the 12-volt power plane isn't really connected, so you want to check. Okay, the driver initialized by now. Restart. Like I should have pressed shutdown, not restart. And now we're gonna wait a bit longer. Yeah, you can add it to like 75-watt GPUs. Sometimes the cards already have like solder points for that. Like I'm gonna take an example. Like this right here, GTX 650 of mine, has a connector right here. And there's a 750 that uses this exact PCB, but it does not have that connector. But it still has those solder points for the connector. So it's really easy adding a connector to that card. But it's harder on cards that do not have that kind of solder points. It's still possible if you just find a good connection for 12 volts and ground, and you take some high gauge cables and solder the connector to that. It's gonna work. It would just be janky, and you're gonna need a really, really strong soldering iron for that. I like the red and black colors. Yeah, I mean the motherboard always goes to red if you reset the CMOS, so I just set everything to red. Except the AIO, that's just defaulted to RGB, and I don't have the software installed for it, so yeah. Yeah, I just set always to red. Nice contrast to my daily system, which is just like a blue, purple, everything. So, turn the mic a bit. And now, hopefully, after the system has seen the card and initialized the driver for it, it will be able to boot the card in the 16X slot. At least that's how I made it boot in the 16X slot before, when I tested it off camera. But you know how it is. Once the camera is rolling, it doesn't work. So hopefully it does now. Can you see? You can kind of see the postcode. $36, $5, $27. Come give me B2. You're not giving me B2. That does not look good. Nope. But usually you have to press reset once for it to work. But like if it doesn't work now, because I did exactly what I did before to make it boot. And if it doesn't work now, that's just gonna be like cameras rolling, so of course things go wrong. And of course it doesn't work. Maybe if we just reset CMOS. And then once we get a video out on this, I might actually just go into BIOS and apply the overclock. It will have to work for that though. Come on, just boot. You did it this morning. Like, no, did it? Actually, did I run this thing today or yesterday? But like, it did work. It's just really janky to get working. Ah, give me B298. No, not 9298. Damn it. This thing, man. Why don't you work? Let's try again. Like, there's no debris in the PCI Express slot, like, it's clean. It's just like, really press it down. Come on, just boot. People are watching and they're wasting their time waiting for you to boot. So just boot. Monitor says no signal. Yeah, but it hasn't booted yet. No, it has booted and it's not displaying an image. Yeah, so looks like we're gonna run the 8X slot. Because I do not want to press reset and clear CMOS for another 15 minutes. So if it wants to be cooked alive, we're gonna cook it alive. $8X it is. Okay, be back in a minute. So, we have picture, we are in the BIOS, because this time I remembered to go into it. We're just gonna load it's still called CDI. So it's literally just I'm gonna show the settings. So it's no BCLK for now. Just 4 gigahertz, 3200, 16, 18, 18, 36. Did I set something else? I set 1T command rate and nothing else. 1.425 volts CPU, turbo LOC actually, not high, and 1.35 for memory. I could probably set a lower LOC and set the voltage a bit higher to get some better results, but it does run and I just can't be bothered right now. So yeah. Oh, Madness joined the chat with another name. PCIe can pull 200 watts. Supplementary power for PCIe would be needed to keep the voltage stable. Yeah, voltage dropping below 12 volts can be a problem. If the GPU has empty power connector pins, you will need to solder additional components like shunts, caps, inductors, and possibly more stuff to make it work. Yeah, that can be a problem. Although on the card that I showed, there's like no input filtering and no nothing because it's a really low power one. So that card just doesn't have it. So we are on desktop and the screen is misaligned slightly. I think that will be okay. So we have the MSI N580 GTX Twin Throzer 3 PE, which usually it would say MSI N580 GTX Lightning, but as you might have seen when I installed the card, there's some empty pads on the back for prod laser capacitors. This card does not have them because it is technically not a Lightning, though it's using the Lightning PCB and it has all the Lightning features and it overclocks like a Lightning, so I call it a Lightning. Can you OC RGB to give someone a seizure? You can surely do a lot of RGB stuff that gives people seizures. 1.35 volts for that RAM is too much, try 1.2. No, it's not, it's CJR. And 1.35 is literally XMP voltage. So it's gonna be fine. So yeah. We are in MS Afterburner and you can already see that we have some extra features here because we can drop down the voltage menu. And yeah, and actually we have a voltage offset and not just a straight up voltage reset. I'm gonna enable the fan. Yeah, because the Lightning and some other MSI cards have this quad over voltage thing, though the fourth thing is not available here. I think that would be VDDCI on AMD cards, and since this is NVIDIA, we have no VDDCI. So you can set core, memory, and auxiliary, which is PAX. So PAX not interesting for us, only for LN2 guys. And then we have core. Stock. This measurement is pretty accurate. For the VRM output behind the core, like I measured all the voltages with the multimeter. So behind the core stock under load, this runs at about 0.99 volts. If we crank the offset, it's behind the core 1.13 volts around. So it's pretty low compared to what we just ran on the 480. You could flash it to Lightning. Yeah, I could do that, but why would I? Like, I don't think there's a lot of Twin Throzer 3 PEs out there, so maybe this is... I think the Twin Throzer 3 PE is rarer than the Lightning actually, because I've only ever seen 2 of these, and this is one of them. So yeah, if we crank the offset, which we're gonna do because I'm gonna demonstrate 1 gigahertz in Firestrike on air. Though with the card sandwiched into the 8X slot, this might actually get a bit too hot to run 1 gigahertz. Memory voltage we can set 50. This results like this card has a big problem with voltage drop on memory. So stock, if I leave the stock, Like GDDR5 stock is 1.6 volts. The VRM is spitting out 1.6 volts, but the memory chips, especially the ones furthest away from the VRM, are getting 1.5, was it 1.57 or 1.55 volts, like way below 1.6. And if I crank this offset, the furthest memory chip actually gets 1.61 volts, so just above stock, whereas the memory chips closest to the VRM and the VRM itself sit at 1.7 volts. So there's a lot of voltage drop for the memory on this card, which I don't know how it compares, but like the 480, when I measured the voltage, it wasn't that different, which I think is because on this card the memory VRM is behind vCore, much further away than on most cards. So there's a lot of extra distance, a lot of extra resistance, and therefore our voltage is dropping a lot. But yeah, actually the memory voltage offset on this card in testing didn't really do a lot. I'm still gonna apply it though. So assuming that the card being sandwiched into the 8X slot with basically no airflow is not gonna overheat it too much, it's gonna run these settings in Firestrike. It's gonna run 1 GHz on core and 2400 on memory, which might sound like a lot compared to the 480 we just ran. On core, yeah, like 1 GHz on air is not doable on a lot of cards, especially with just 1.13 volts behind the core. The memory with 2400 megahertz, that's actually not that fast compared to the other Lightning. Like I have another Lightning that actually completely fully works and also is identified as a proper Lightning. So it has those extra capacitors. That one does actually run worse for core, but it does run 2550 memory. So yeah, this card's memory is not that great. They are all Samsung also. Like all of my Fermis except the two 580 reference cards that I have are Samsung. The reference ones are Hynix. And one of them is actually dead right now. Like I have to reflow that one again. So I don't know how the heat is gonna be, but it did complete Firestrike with those settings before, so I'm just gonna hope it does it now too, and I'm not just gonna sit here like an idiot when it crashes. And you can see the temperature rising. Like that's really... Yeah, that temperature is rising way too high. Yeah, if it crashes, it's gonna be because of the core temperature. That's way higher than before. I think it was like 65 max before. And we're actually running hotter than the 480 now. The 480 was like 71. But it did pass GT1, now for the memory heavy one. It might actually artifact at 2400. Birds like to do game streaming, Need for Speed Heat when talking about things. Can you do the same? I do not have Need for Speed Heat, but I did do a rambly video with Destiny 2 in the background, which is like a game that I play a lot. The closest thing to Need for Speed Heat that I have is Forza Horizon 4, but I don't really play it that much, because I'm not that big of a fan for like racing games. But yeah, like whenever I feel like rambling about something and I don't really have anything to show and the card just crashed because it was 77 degrees. Yeah, that's why I don't want to use the 8X slot. It would have passed in the other one. And maybe it helps if we just set the fan to 100% manually, but I did see it was at 100. Yeah, and it's not gonna, it's actually, let's test. Is it gonna hold 1 gigahertz at 50 millivolts less? My guess is no. But he is not rambling now. I mean, he did a rambling video about the 60, like about the big Navi ones, just that he wasn't playing Need for Speed Heat in that video. Yeah. I mean, I like to play Destiny 2 a lot. Actually, so much that on the 21st of November, I and a team are gonna go into the day 1 raid, like the new raid that's coming out with the next expansion. We're gonna go into the raid now. It's not, yeah, 1 gigahertz at that voltage just doesn't run. So yeah, still looking for 4 people though for the team, because I need 12. So if you also play Destiny 2, that's just hit me up. Yeah, so the card is getting too hot. I really wanted to show 1 gigahertz running. RuneScape is fun. It came to stream like a week ago. Yeah, like I've heard about RuneScape and that you never really quit it. Never played it though. So this is probably gonna crash again. Wait, let me try. I'm gonna get the 2 fans that I had on the 480 and just have them blast air to the card. Maybe that's gonna help. It's still running? Hey, it's still running, but it's probably gonna crash this run. Looks like their fans are not falling down. Yeah, it crashed. Okay, now with the fans blasting at it. But yeah, if this won't pass, that's just like... There you have the proof that Fermi does care about temperature. But I really wanted to show you how it does 1 gigahertz. It's weird, your say 580s are bad at booting. Mine has no problem. It even is the only one that has no problem of all of my cards. Well, it's weird. Like, it depends on what platform you're on. So my test bench is X370. And also it varies from card to card. Like, the 580 Direct CO2, for example, is really easy to boot. This Lightning and the 2 reference 580s that I have are almost impossible to get to boot. And then there's the 480 that did work fine in the 16X slot as we had it. Like, it did run in the 16X slot completely fine. It just like varies from card to card. And this one is, yeah. I mean, it does need an aftermarket heatsink to even work, because it has like a weird problem. To like, yeah. Oh wait, YouTube is screaming at me for something. YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming. Well, that's a shame. Can't really do anything about that though. My internet is slow. It should still look better than the last time, since I've doubled the bitrate. Like, how much am I actually upstreaming right now? Yeah, it's pretty much maxed out. Well, it actually seems to help the temperature a bit. We had 73 before, we were at 77. And it still crashed. Is it gonna... maybe it's gonna pass if we just do core. But like, that will be the last attempt. If this crashes, I'm just gonna call it. Maybe I'm gonna try to boot it in the 16X slot one more time and see if it does. But yeah, if not, that would be kind of the end of the stream. We're also coming up on 2 hours, so I don't really want to stretch it out even more now. Yeah, I'm just gonna answer some questions in chat. Do you have any other benchmarks? Actually, yeah, I wanted to try Skydive, I forgot. But I think, like, apart from the screen looking different and different scores, like, it's probably not gonna change, like, from what it's able to run. Like, I mean, I do have 3D Max, so not gonna run Time Spy on this, but I could do Skydiver. I have Heaven, I have Superposition, I have Valley. Thing is just, like, Superposition is too modern for this old card, and Valley and Heaven are pretty long, so it's just gonna, there's just an even higher chance that it won't complete those benchmarks than these. Like Firestrike and like 3D Mark benchmarks are relatively short compared to like Heaven. And like also that they're periodic, because you can see how the temperature goes up at the beginning because they cool down in between when the next benchmark is loading. That doesn't happen in Unigine. So yeah, it will likely crash. There is stress tests in 3D Mark where it just loops the same thing for 10 minutes, but yeah, do you really want to look at the same screen for 10 minutes? I don't. Can it try Crisis? I don't have Crisis. So, yeah. I mean, what games do I have installed here that will run on a 580? I really don't know. Don't think I have anything really installed that will be... Well, I have Minecraft, I think, but Minecraft runs on everything. It does seem to pass now. Like, I've had combined crash like 2 times. So it's probably gonna pass, especially because it was able to cool down a lot in the CPU test. So you can, yeah, I'm not gonna claim victory until it actually completes the test, because if I do it now, it's surely gonna crash. Your stabbing guide is really great. Would you consider doing a troubleshooting repair tutorial video series? Oh, thank you that you think it's great. Troubleshooting repair tutorial series. I mean, there were those 2 GTX 970s that, at least one of them, I knew how to repair. It's just I botched it. If you want to see videos about repairing troubleshooting, there is Adamant IT, I think he's called. He does a lot of onboard, like, board repair and that sort of stuff. Also has videos explaining it. If I do ever have a card where I have to repair something that's not just blasting a heat gun, I'm gonna make a video about it. The thing is, just repairing cards, I don't really have that much experience yet, so I can't really make a tutorial about it. I would just have to do it more, and then once I just have more experience, I can make a video about it. You can run superposition on Linux, but NVIDIA drivers are pretty bad. Yeah, I heard that NVIDIA drivers on Linux are just like a joke. Also don't have it installed on the test bench. Yeah, but you can see the scores are like this 5,826. Like 580 score a lot higher than the 4,300 we got out of our 480. So yeah, but you can see it does complete Firestrike at 1 GHz core. Just seems that our memory was like having problems again, which the memory wasn't that great to begin with. Again, like the other 580 does 2550. And like maybe it does 2350. You can try another run. But I think that will, like, yeah, that's probably gonna be the last run for the day. And yeah, you see again here it reports the voltage that's slightly too high. It's 1.13 volts behind the core. And on die it's probably even lower, like 1.12 or just like straight up 1.1. I don't know how the voltage drop is over the BGA and into the substrate. So yeah. Yeah, I'm watching Adamant IT. He's just a lot of laptops and MacBooks using schematics, etc. Having GPU-specific info is really helpful. Yeah, he did repair a GTX 960 at some point, where he actually ran, like, did he run Firmac on one phase? Like, I actually don't know. Did that card have 3 or 2 phase VCore? Because he removed one phase and then run Firmac on it, which was like me just going into cover because I was sure it would blow up. Yeah, I mean, he's great to watch. So I mean, yeah, and it crashed. Hard to say if this was a core crash or memory. Let's see if it's better than the DirectStudio 2, which this is at 0 offset because the DirectStudio 2 does not have software control for memory. Let's see if it's able to match the DirectStudio 2 or if it's even worse. Because, like, yeah. The memory on this is just not great. Yeah, I mean, Adamant IT, he's doing a lot of laptops. I know that, like, I'm subscribed to him too. So yeah, I mean, he did on a 960 video, and I could maybe, like, in the stabbing guide I already talked a bit about, like, what certain defects look like when you have, like, shorts on certain things, how you can detect those. I can maybe try to make a video that goes a bit more into detail, like what can cause certain problems and how these would look like. But yeah, that would require some research on my part, and I don't feel like I would have to contribute a lot to the discussion if I don't have that much experience myself. I could look into it, maybe, like, try to find some ideas for it, and if I think I have enough ideas for it, then yeah, I could make a video, but it's something that I first have to investigate, and I can't really set out to make it now, because it could turn out just like, yeah, talking about things I already did a video on and just repeating what other people said. I'm watching you on my phone, and my computer does that count as 2 people watching? If you have, oh, it crashed again. If you have 2 different YouTube accounts, most definitely. If it's the same YouTube account, I actually don't know. I don't know if YouTube is that smart that they take the same YouTube account watching onto, like, 2 devices as 2 people. Eli Tech is also great. Yeah, Eli Tech, he does a whole bunch repair videos, just sadly he kind of stopped uploading. Like, there haven't been new videos in ages on his channel, sadly. But yeah, he has a lot of repair videos for GPUs. You can look up Eli Tech. Great channel to watch. I think I really don't remember what the name of that channel was. There was another YouTube channel that also did graphics card repair videos. Just don't know what his name was. Is it this guy? Yeah, it's this guy. I'm just gonna write it in chat. That's the name of the guy. Just 500 subscribers, also pretty small, but he also does repair videos for a lot of 290Xs, and I think at least one 980 Ti, no, two 980 Ti's. So, and then there's also a couple dual GPU AMD cards. So yeah, that's also a channel that you can watch. Also pretty nice. So, but yeah, I mean, you did see the 1 GHz pass on Core. I don't really feel like stabilizing the memory now. The stream is already going for 2 hours. So yeah, gonna take the card out now. And yeah, I mean, I could show the 580 now, but I already did a PCB overview video for it. There's nothing really interesting about it. I showed the 480 at the beginning, so I don't really feel like I have anything to add now. So yeah, I feel like ending the stream now. So I'm just gonna say thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and until we see each other next time. Goodbye. Now where's OBS?